Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So, a couple of our viewers wrote to us to let us know that they wanted me to check out this latest video from this channel called What I've Learned. I believe I responded to him a few years ago for making a video kind of like this. Anyway, in this new video of his, he says that these claims that you hear in the media about how eating meat is really bad for our planet, it's bad for greenhouse gas emissions, it's bad for wasting precious water resources. Anyway, he's saying that this information is just vegan propaganda that somehow the mainstream media has picked up on. Yeah, the mainstream media is repeating our weird made-up lies and talking points, when in fact the reverse is true. He's saying that eating meat is great for our planet and doesn't waste water and all this stuff. I have to say, this video of his, I only got through like the first 3 minutes. It's like 12 or 15 minutes long. I didn't even see anything past that because these first 3 minutes are just so riddled with problems, misinformation. I had to stop there. So anyway, let's jump right in.
What's the environmental impact of not eating meat? Veganism is on the rise, but getting 100% of Americans to go plant-based is unrealistic. So let's be optimistic and say we got 10% of the United States to stop eating meat. What would be the actual reduction of the United States planet-warming greenhouse gases if 33 million people went totally plant-based?
I really doubt this guy has the skills to make such a complex calculation, so let's see how he pulled these numbers out.
To discuss this, I'm joined here with Professor of Animal Science and Air Quality Specialist at UC Davis, Dr. Frank Mitloehner.
Alright, so fair enough. He enlisted the help of this expert, Professor Mitloehner, so I went to the UC Davis website to see what he's all about, to see if he's an environmental ecologist or something like that. No, he works in the Department of Animal Science, and I'm not going to hold that against him, but I'm going to look at his educational background. His undergraduate work was in Germany in animal science, PhD, Texas in animal science, and he's received funding from the animal agriculture businesses, such as the Pork Board and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Yeah, of course, nice move here, What I've Learned. In order to prove your point that eating animals is not bad at all for the environment, you found a professor who receives money from the pork board and beef industries. Good job. Anyway, I'm not going to hold that against Professor Mitloehner for now. Who knows? Maybe he receives money from these industries, yet he's still able to remain partial and unbiased. Let's judge him by his words.
That if the entirety of the U.S. was to go vegan for a year, then the reduction in emissions would be like...
the entire US going vegan would be 2.6%. So if everybody were to do 2.6, if 1/10 of that would do it, then it would be 0.26. That's not even measurable, okay? We are talking about changes here that are not even measurable.
So according to this meat industry expert, if 10% of Americans were to go fully vegan, there would be a mere 0.26% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. As he said, basically immeasurable. And I don't know if you noticed, though, in the bottom right corner, they referred to the study, which I presume that this professor is getting this information from, this calculation from. So let's have a look at it because it's quite revealing. So first of all, I want to point out that both of the study's authors have affiliations with the, once again, meat and dairy industries, just like Professor Mitloehner. So once again, I'm holding an open mind that these authors are able to maintain a non-biased point of view, not in favor of their funders and affiliations here. But no, if we look at some of the wording from the study here, you'll see that they're clearly biased against people who eat only plants. For instance, it said plant-only diet systems had greater excess dietary energy, which sounds like we're getting too many calories and becoming obese eating all these plants, and resulted in a greater number of deficiencies in essential nutrients. And that plant-based rations were associated with greater deficiencies in calcium, protein, vitamin A, and vitamin D. So hopefully you're laughing a little bit like I am. There's this meat industry funded study here which says that vegans are at this higher risk of being deficient in protein. Like, what is this, like 1995 or the Joe Rogan Experience? I mean, this is just a complete myth. I mean, have you ever met a vegan that was deficient in protein? I know thousands of vegans. I'm still waiting to meet my first one. Like myself, I put my blood tests up maybe 5 or 6 times over the past 8 years, never been deficient in protein or calcium, any of these nutrients that they're mentioning here that they say vegans are going to be low in. And if you want to see what an actual medical association says, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the largest group of health professionals in the world, they have an official position paper. And I cite this all the time because it's based on on over 100 scientific references. They just didn't make this up out of thin air. And they say very clearly that appropriately planned vegan diets are nutritionally adequate and healthy for all people in all phases of life. So anyway, this is the meat industry funded study that our meat industry funded professor, Professor Mittlerner, is relying upon to claim that there would be essentially no measurable difference if 10% of the United States population were to go vegan. Well, of course, that's not a surprising conclusion to find, considering the sources of funding, which are a little bit biased and not objective. So to see what a non-meat industry funded study says into this very same topic, let's look at this study from 2020 from University of Michigan's Center for Sustainable Systems. And they say that replacing 50% of all animal-based foods with plant-based alternatives leads to a 224 million metric tons less emissions per year in 2030, a reduction equivalent to the annual emissions of over 47 million of today's average passenger vehicles.
That's not even measurable, okay? We are talking about changes here that are not even measurable.
Well, isn't it quite funny when you have a non-meat industry funded study looking at this very same topic, they find a very measurable difference. How
could the reduction be so low?
Well, because your study sucked.
Well, there's a lot we have to break down. Let's start here. Do cows really take all our water?
So the water input that people assign to beef includes, and that's the majority, the so-called green water.
Green water, I mean, what a buzzword that sounds like. Green water sounds so eco-friendly, and thank goodness cows are drinking green water. Let's see what this mysterious green water really is.
And the green water is rainwater. That rainwater would fall on that land where the animals graze, with cattle present and without cattle present.
All right, so I'm going to talk more about cows drinking rainwater in a second, how that really doesn't mean anything as far as it being really green or good for the environment. But once again, they referred to a study at the bottom of the screen. And once again, let's have a look at this, because this study actually goes against, it like weakens this professor's argument. It says right here that per ton of product, animal products generally have a larger water footprint than crop products. The same is true when we look at the water footprint per calorie. The average water footprint per calorie for beef is 20 times larger than for cereals and starchy foods. But it gets even worse than that here for our meat industry funded professor. This non-meat industry funded study says that from a freshwater resource perspective, it is more efficient to obtain calories, protein, and fat through crop products than animal products. So I think this professor shot himself in the foot here by referring to this study. It clearly says if you're looking at a water efficiency perspective, no matter if you're looking at protein or fat or calories, plant-based products are on an order of magnitude or more water efficient than animal products.
And the green water is rainwater. That rainwater would fall on that land where the animals graze.
So I read through the study more to see why this concept of green water is brought up. It's to distinguish green water from blue water. Blue water is water that's obtained from groundwater like aquifers and lakes. Green water is water that's obtained through rainfall. So trying to understand what this professor is saying here, he's so proud of the water used for animal agriculture because the water came from rainwater rather than from reservoirs or aquifers. Like, how does that make it any better? There's still a boat ton of water needed to produce a pound of beef.
Just 1/4 pound hamburger takes around 1,650 liters of water to produce.
So, but these people who come up with the statistics of these enormous amounts of water going into beef, they're counting rainwater. They're counting green water. And that's just not right.
Still not sure why that's not right. I mean, is he trying to assert that all the animal agriculture water comes from rainfall falling directly on the crops? Because I know for a fact, at least here in California, that's not true. Where our animal agriculture products are grown in the Central Valley here, it's a pretty dry area. Yes, they're using rainwater, irrigated rainwater. I don't see why he's trying to say if the water used is rainwater, hey, it's cool, we don't have to worry about that, even though it's a lot of water.
Now, the vast majority of water that goes into a beef animal will go into the beef animal in the form of feed, not in the form of water that they drink, in the form of feed.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of water to produce that feed. Only 5% of the water in the United States goes to residential homes, while over half goes to animal agriculture to produce this feed.
And guess what happens to that water a few hours after it's ingested? It's urinated out. It's not staying in the animal. It stays in the animal as long as the tea that you drank this morning stayed into your body.
So what is he getting at here? Is he saying if a cow pees onto the ground, and that doesn't really happen when they're in slaughterhouses and factory farming, but when a cow's outdoors and pees into the ground, that urination becomes water once again? Am I missing something? Because if you know more about this topic, please comment down below. I tried my best. I tried all sorts of searches to find some kind of geological or natural environmental process that recycles urine into water, and I couldn't find anything other than technological processes, new technological processes that convert urine into water and electricity and other things.
So to me, it is disingenuous to say, oh, look at all that water that goes into growing cattle. Would we say the same thing about all the water that goes to trees to grow?
So now he's playing the victim. He's saying that his animal agriculture industry is being unfairly called out for using these enormous quantities of water, but this water is not bad because it comes from the rain. And I'll show you here, this is a ridiculous argument. It's disingenuous. That was his word. If anyone's being disingenuous, it's him, because water here in California comes from a very finite amount of sources. We're a very drought-ridden state. Water comes from rainwater, which typically doesn't come from rain. It comes from high Sierra snowpack, which melts and it gets funneled into our aqueduct system. And water can also come from reservoirs or underground aquifers. So it doesn't really matter. Water is a precious resource here, and no matter where it comes from, it's a finite, precious resource. And what this professor is not revealing in this interview, to what I've learned, is exactly how much water is used here in California for animal agriculture. Look no further than this graph produced by another professor from his very same university, UC Davis, and you'll see the vast majority of water use in California goes to alfalfa and forages for animal agriculture.
But think about this. 94.5% of Californian almonds' water usage is not green water.
Oh yeah, if you heard that almonds are sucking up all of California's water, it's a blip on the radar right here. Basically, I don't see how this professor can sit here with a straight face in California, knowing that we're in the middle of a mega drought, our reservoir levels are really low, the snowpack this year is one of the lowest on record, and say, hey, no big deal, cows get their water from rainfall. Well, we didn't get that much this year, and we haven't been getting a lot in past years, so it just blows my mind, this complete nonsense coming from a professor trying to justify animal agriculture here in California in the middle of a drought, saying, no big deal, we got tons of rainwater. I mean, anyway, let me know, guys. I checked his video, What I've Learned's video, and I got exactly 5 minutes into his 24+ minute video. Just 5 minutes. I already made like, what, a 12 to 15 minute video here. That's why I didn't go any further. I knew the first 5 minutes was going to keep me quite occupied. So I would like to hear from you guys down in the questions and comments if you would like me to continue on and discover what new nonsense he says for the rest of the video. Do you want to see a part 2 of this? If so, I'll make one in a few days or next week. So let me know down below, and also let me know what you thought of these arguments here from What I've Learned and from these meat industry funded professors and studies justifying how animal agriculture ain't that bad. It just blows my mind every time I do one of these debunk videos. So let me know down below your thoughts. Hit like, please share this video with someone. That's why I make these videos, because I know What I've Learned is going to get a ton of views, and someone needs to counter his misinformation with the actual facts of the matter, non-biased sources of information, non-industry funded sources of information. So hit like, share the video. Until next time, guys, let's keep it vegan.
When does the pain